Now, without getting too boring, let's talk about how the Bank of Canada, in cahoots with the federal government, has been ripping you off of your savings. Ladies and gents, welcome back. I love it when a reporter will actually ask hard, tough questions to the people and call them out. Call these people out for the things that they're doing. Now, we're going to get into that with Tiff Macklem, a reporter confronting Tiff Macklem about lies that was this perceived lies? Well, we'll see. We'll get into that. But before we get into that, just a quick talk about what is inflation? It was monetary policy. I mean, this was famous of Justin Trudeau to say this.
You'll forgive me if I don't think about monetary policy.
Well, we all wish you did. Perhaps he does, actually. Perhaps he does, but this is not something that he's been putting a lot of effort into because he's more looking to spend your money. This is money that we literally don't have much of anymore. Here's Lubermoff pointing out that, well, we just took a massive hit to our dollar. The value of our dollar took a massive hit at the news that Trump's tariffs are coming in on February 1st. This is a confirmation. This is what is going to happen. Now, in Canada, the value of our currency has been dwindling. And where does the value go? Where does the value go? Well, it goes in the idea of dilution. So they can dilute the currency by, well, just making more of it. This is the one job that the Bank of Canada has. They have a hammer, and when all you have is a hammer, everything kind of looks like a nail. Their job essentially is to rein in inflation. Now, what is inflation? Inflation, the only way they know how to measure this is through what we call the consumer price index. It's a basket of goods that we take and we measure compared year to year. How much has that basket of goods changed over time? The problem is the change that's occurring in the basket of goods is the government coming in and changing what's in the basket. So we don't have a really good measure of what's in it. They change the things that go in it to make the numbers look good. So if we're constantly flubbing the numbers, well, we're not going to get good feedback now, are we? Now, this is showing as the Bank of Canada has lowered their interest rates in another political move, in my opinion, to make the political situation look better for this guy, Justin Trudeau, the guy who resigned and has having a really hard time completing that resignation, is bragging about what's happening in Canada now. The Bank of Canada just lowered interest rates again. We'll keep working to bring costs down, but this is a welcome relief for a lot of people renewing their mortgages or trying to buy their first home. Lots of people pointing out, Zach McKean pointing out, mortgage interest rates from Canadian banks need to be around 2.5% for real relief to reach Canadians. Even now, mortgage rates are around 4%. They're much higher, and even serious. The lenders, they don't care anymore. They don't care what the prime rates are. They're really looking at a situation where it's too risky. It's too risky to lend to people in this environment where too many people are over leveraged with debt. Lee Humphrey saying fixed rate mortgages, 70% of all mortgages aren't based on the Bank of Canada interest rate, but I wouldn't expect a guy who is uninterested in monetary policy to know that. That's where we're at. But just going back a few years, here's Tiff Macklem, during the COVID era, encouraging people. This is where it's tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Of course, this will encourage people in a market economy to make particular moves. And in fact, he's encouraging. This is like, I'm not a lawyer, but is this criminal, negligent financial advice? Because people have to worry about that financial advice they give out.
Interest rates are very low, and they're going to be there for a long time.
Oh, are they?
We recognize that Canadian businesses are facing an unusual amount of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so we have been unusually clear about the future path for interest rates.
Right.
If you've got a mortgage, or if you're considering to make a major purchase, or you're a business and you're considering making an investment, you can be confident that interest rates will be low for a long time.
Right. You can be confident to make a big financial investment. Right after which he raised the interest rates massively. He really did. This calls into question whether Tiff Macklem actually runs the Bank of Canada. This really is a question that goes in. Now, a reporter just the other day had to put this out there. Steve Saretsky put this on X saying, did you mislead Canadians about keeping interest rates low? Reporter goes rogue at Bank of Canada presser. This is actually really great to see.
Good morning. I'd like to turn backwards a bit to the bank's recent report on its pandemic actions. The staff report talked about bank communications, including the communications about keeping interest rates near zero. So I'd like to ask you about this comment in the report. It said, central banks often adjust or simplify the wording, particularly to make it clear and more accessible. Communication is often further simplified or interpreted by the media and people providing financial advice. This can very easily lead to the public understanding or interpreting the guidance in ways the central bank does not intend. When a central bank does not follow what it has perceived to have said, this can be seen as a broken promise. Did you break a promise to Canadians? Did journalists and financial experts mislead Canadians?
Look, I think we learned from this that forward guidance has its uses, but it has to be used very carefully. And with the benefit of hindsight, in retrospect, we should have been clear about sort of the exit clauses, the conditions under which this would hold. And I think, yes.
We should have been more clear on the exit clauses that the conditions may hold. What? How are you not more clear? Interest rates are going to be low for a very long time.
Interest rates are very low, and they're going to be there for a long time.
Yeah, you can't be any more clear than that. And in fact, going into saying, and in fact, if you want to make these giant purchases by taking out a loan, perhaps now's the time to do it, right before raising interest rates. Is this criminal? I don't know. Leave a comment in the comment section down below on that one.
I think in the process of communicating it, those conditions weren't as clear as they should have been.
They weren't as clear as they should have been. Well, who's being clear? Well, the Better Dwelling's being clear, and they're a great publisher of great articles on economic stuff in Canada. Recommend them. Link in the description down below. Bank of Canada cuts and ends quantitative tightening. This is the new news that's come out. Quantitative tightening. What is the difference between quantitative tightening and quantitative easing? Quantitative tightening is reeling back, buying back credit, so that essentially trying to raising interest rates in order to, reel back the economy so that maybe people make less bad investments. That's probably a thing. Now the loonie plunges further. Quantitative easing being the practice of, money printer go brr. That's right. Quantitative easing is this idea that you print a bunch of money, put it out into the market, and it's this liquid asset. A bunch of people can borrow it cheaply, and then they'll be able to put money and buy different things and do investment. Now, what occurs in this environment actually? Well, what occurs is malinvestment. That's right. People have put themselves into, they don't know where to invest their money. They don't want it in savings because they're losing on inflation. So they'll put it into assets. And this is what exactly happened. Stephen Harper called this years ago. The problem with what they did with the low interest rates, we went into asset bubble economy. And we've been there ever since. And it's incredibly volatile. And so the only way to keep it going is to keep inflating this bubble, again, with the money printer go brr. Now, getting into this, Canada's central bank slashes its key interest rate, and widely expected, but went even further. Earlier today, the Bank of Canada announced it would be slashing its overnight rate by 25 basis points, as well as its end of quantitative tightening. program prematurely, of course. And this is all while the Canadian economy to significantly fall behind global growth. This is really not good. Canada's weak economy is among the biggest issues contributing to monetary easing. And the Bank of Canada fails to acknowledge rising core inflation. The central bank deemed dismissive of inflation data. They'll use their CPI stuff and whatever, but people are measuring the inflation themselves. This is the McDonald's index, which is a great one. You can just look at the price of a Big Mac. And I think it's the Big Mac index. You look at the price of a Big Mac over time, it's gone up. It's not going down, and it's not even staying flat or going up by only 2%. It's going up an extraordinary amount all the time. Now, despite that being its primary objective with the interest rates, that's with the inflation rate, this is why they manipulate the money. While we expect some volatility in the CPI inflation due to temporary tax measures, our forecast is that the inflation will remain close to the 2% target over the next 2 years, said the Bank of Canada during the prepared remarks with the rate announcement. Now, you can mark my words, go back, rewind this a few years later, and I'll tell you, inflation is going to go way up. It's going to go way up because, again, money printer go burr. It's a simple concept. It is a simple concept. Now, if you want to protect yourself from this kind of thing, you have savings and you don't want to lose it to this rising interest rate, or the inflation with the lowering of the interest rates, you can go over to New World Precious Metals. Friends of the channel here, they've been helping a lot of people out. Just take money and put it into precious metals. And this isn't some like stocks or bonds or things like that. This is physical gold, silver, precious metals. You buy it, they'll send it to you, or you can keep it in storage. And this is how you can preserve your wealth. You preserve your savings, because gold is going to mainly remain at one price when it comes to the purchasing power of it. While all the currencies are in free fall, you're just protecting your savings by holding this as a portion of your portfolio. So hit that QR code in the corner if you're interested in that. But getting back to this is Tiff Macklem, just the other day talking about this, the Bank of Canada getting away from the quantitative tightening.
Today we lowered our policy interest rate by 25 basis points. This is our 6th consecutive decrease and brings the policy rate to 3%. We also announced our plan to complete the normalization of our balance sheet, ending quantitative tightening.
Wow, what a great idea, Tiff Macklem. I mean, so anyone who studies, the Austrian School of Economics would know that this is a bad deal. Well, there's really no mention of the upward drift in core inflation in recent months, which is a bit surprising, wrote Douglas Portier, chief economist at the Bank of Montreal, I think that is. Portier is referencing the GST-HST holiday that temporarily suppresses inflation just by making the numbers look a little bit cheaper. Note that this is temporary. It doesn't remove it, since it will come back with a vengeance once the temporary tax break subsides. The central bank didn't acknowledge this rise. Instead, it deferred to the result of a survey on explanations. Sure, that's great. All while the dollar plunges. The Bank of Canada finally takes note. This is where we're at. I just wanted to put this out there. Inflation is not where the officials are telling you where it's at. It's easy. It's so easy for them to flub the numbers and then come out with sweet little lies to make it sound like they're doing a good job so they can pat themselves on the back. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. I don't want to go too long because economics is not so entertaining for so many people. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. We'll see you tonight in the live stream at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then. Keep on trucking.